everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today. I am really excited to be participating in Winnie and Walter's World Card Making Day blog hop. And I wanted to feature a few different techniques in one card because I've had a few different techniques on my mind and I was like, oh, I really want to use them and incorporate them into a project. And I decided I'm going to incorporate them all into one. So that's what I did here. So I first started off by creating a watercolor background using my P.H. Martin India inks. I wanted to use the India inks. I've not gotten to use them for a while, and I really wanted to incorporate them into a project. So I'm making a very messy looking background here using those India inks. Now it's going to look absolutely terrible, but it will look cool in the end. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a layered effect with these inks. This is creating a really cool layered watercolor effect. I'm just kind of playing, having fun. In some cases, I put swashes of color onto my background, and then here I'm dropping some pigment right from the bottle itself onto the wet ink, and that's really creating some really intense color. And as this dries, it's creating a layered effect. And you can see I am not doing anything fancy with this watercolor background. I'm leaving areas of white in my background, and this is a really messy looking effect. But we're going to make it look really cool. So here I'm going to take some of these new Prima Metallic Accents watercolors. Now these aren't true watercolors. They're best used when you apply them over top or mixed into watercolors that you're already using. So here I'm taking some of this ultraviolet and I'm creating swashes of color across this background to create some shimmer accents into my background colors. So you'll see as I add this in here, and then I'll tilt it into the light so you can see it better, how this creates a really beautiful shimmery effect. So after I've added on that watercolor, you can see the beautiful ultraviolet accents we've got going on here. And as it dries, you can just see the intensity coming right off the paper. It is so cool. I really have loved using these accents into my watercolors. So I'm going to be taking some of these Winnie and Walter dies. These are the In the Word Birthday and In a Word Happy. And I'm using both of them together. The birthday one is fairly new, I believe. The happy one has been around for a while, and I think they look great put together to create really cool birthday sentiments. So I die cut that happy birthday with the background that I created, and then I also cut a bunch from some white cardstock. I created a total of 3 extra pieces, and I'm going to layer them all together, and that's going to create a stack of 4 die cuts that makes my sentiment dimensional and also a bit more sturdy, so I can use this on my card a little bit better. Now another technique that I wanted to feature in my card is using some glimmer paste from Tonic Studios. It's their Nuvo line, and I have loved their glimmer paste, and I haven't gotten to use that in a while either, so I really wanted to make sure I incorporated that into an upcoming project, and this one just fit the bill. So I'm going ahead and spreading on some of the moonlight color, or the moonstone color, I'm sorry, and I'm spreading that all across this stencil, which is from Winnie and Walter. This is their Spotty stencil. I'm going to add that through the stencil onto some white cardstock, and then I used my heat gun to dry that glimmer paste just because I'm totally impatient. It does not affect the glimmer paste, or at least it didn't affect mine. And you can see you get a really great dimensional effect after this has been completely dried, or you can let it air dry. Now here you're watching me trim off the excess, but I wanted to bring this up close so you could actually see that glimmer paste and how detailed it is and how beautifully shimmery it is. It creates a really nice subtle effect. Alright, now there is one more technique that I wanted to incorporate into this project, and that is stitching detail. Now normally I would do this with stitching dies, so dies that you can buy that have the stitching detail and it cuts the stitching lines. Well, I got the We Are Memory Keepers Stitch Happy machine. This is the sewing machine that they have, and I wanted to use this on my project. And I have been practicing with it, and I'm not an expert by any means, not at all. But I really love using the sewing machine and creating some really cool stitching effects. So I wanted to show you here, I used some of the pink thread and did some stitching detail along all the edges of this panel. So I went around and went through each edge of this card, and I went over it twice. So I went through one the whole time and created a border around the whole entire A2 card front here. But then I went through a second time and created another row of stitching lines. So I basically have 2 rows of stitching lines on each edge. And that creates a really cool effect on this card. Now, this stitching is not perfectly straight. I purposely did that because I wanted it to look a little bit wonky. I wanted it to look imperfect because I think it looks really cool. So there you can see the finished stitching detail. Then I'm taking some double-sided score tape and adding that to the back side of my panel. Now, I'm also going to add some score tape around the edges, not only to help it hold down that area because we've got that stitching around this panel, so it's going to be a little bit more dimensional there. But that double-sided tape is also going to hold that stitching in place, so you don't have to worry about it falling apart. Now, I took a sentiment here from a Winnie and Walter sentiment birthday set, and this says to you, and I'm heat embossing this in some Nuvo pink embossing powder onto some pink paper that matched my watercolored sentiments really nicely. So I cut that down into a little strip, and then I'm adding each of my birthday sentiments onto my panel using some liquid glue. I did sit something heavy on top of this just to help make sure that those birthday words adhered down really nicely. And then finally, I took some Nuvo glitter drops in some pink, purple, and also the white blizzard color, which is kind of like the clear color that matches up with the Moonstone Glimmer Paste really nicely. So I added dots of those around my background. That just helps finish off the card, and it also gave some nice pops of color that brought out the colors in my sentiment really nicely. So here you can see the shimmer that you get from the background with the polka dots, and also that gorgeous metallic sheen on top of that sentiment. So gorgeous, and I really love the extra detail of those stitching lines then around the edges. So I hope you got some inspiration on using just some fun products and making a fun card. I really just wanted to do a bunch of fun things that I've been wanting to do for a while and incorporate them all into one project. So I had fun making this card, and I hope that somehow it inspired you to do some creating of your own. Happy World Card Making Day. I hope you'll head on over to my blog to get more information on the Winnie and Walter blog hop, as well as giveaways. If you enjoyed this video, here are 2 more you might like to watch, and I will see you again very soon with another one. Until then, thanks for watching.